Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is me Manju Raj Pasnet, an intern RA at the Green Hydrogen Lab under the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Kathmandu University. Today I'll be talking about the technical aspects of green hydrogen. Now starting with the history of hydrogen and electrolyzers. It was 1766 when hydrogen was first discovered. After that in 1800 the first decomposition of water into hydrogen and oxygen was done using a bolted pile. After that 42 years later the first fuel cell was invented. A fuel cell is a device used to convert hydrogen and oxygen into electricity. After that, in 1900, the first Zeppelin was launched. The Zeppelin was a rigid airship used to carry people and goods from one country to another in the late 1800s. After that, 55 years later, the first ion exchange membrane was used as an electrolyte in the fuel cell. After that, 6 years later, the liquid hydrogen was used to fuel rocket engines by NASA. After that, from 1961 to present day, there have been various advancements and development in the field of hydrogen energy, also the formation of councils to encourage the use of hydrogen energy, and the worldwide dispute of the replacement of non-renewable energy. Now talking about the types of electrolyzers, there are basically three types: the alkaline, the proton exchange membrane, and the solid oxide. Now talking about the alkaline electrolyzers, they are the most primitive type of electrolyzers, and also they use the potassium hydroxide solution of about 30% to decompose water into hydrogen and oxygen. Since they were the primitive, they are the most durable and most mature type of technology for electrolyzers. There have been various developments in this type of electrolyzers. Its features include less corrosion problem since the acidic medium is not included here, and also the cost effectiveness of the electrolyzer. Now talking about the disadvantages, it has a very low current density and the gas crossover, meaning the hydrogen and oxygen are mixed, and also the low partial load range. It means that the electrolyzer, when set to operate at a rating or power below its rated power, then its efficiency is decreased, and also the operational pressure is very low, meaning the output pressure of the hydrogen from the electrolyzer is low. Now talking about the proton exchange membrane, it uses a solid polymer for the decomposition of water, and also the only the hydrogen gas can pass from the ions can pass from the solid polymer. Its features include the higher current density, the good partial load range, the higher gas purity, faster response time, higher operational pressure, and the compact design. And the disadvantages include higher cost, the problems of commercialization because it's very expensive, and also the corrosive acidic environment. Now talking about the solid oxide electrolyzers, they are the most recent and being researched on. They are very high temperature electrolyzers, and due to this there is very lower cell resistance and the energy efficient since less energy is required to break down water as the temperature is already high. Also it can be used as both fuel cells and electrolyzers. They use solid oxides or ceramics for the electrolysis process. Its disadvantages include the components being thermally challenged because of high temperature. The cost is also very high and the complex fabrication of the electrolyzer. Now talking about the processes involved, there are basically three stages, mainly production, the storage and the end use. So this is a complete process chart for the hydrogen production, storage and end use. First off, we will be using electricity to start our electrolyzer. The electrolyzer operates at a DC voltage, so we will be needing an AC to DC converter, also known as rectifier. Then we will also be using a deionizer because we need to feed deionized water into the electrolyzer and also remove all the ions and impurities. And we'll be using a storage tank and a water pump to pump the water from the tank to the electrolyzer. Now after the water is dissociated into hydrogen and oxygen, the filtration system or the purification system is used, which includes coalescer. The coalescer is a filtration equipment which filters the aerosols and impurities with the help of a filter where the impurities accumulate over time and they are discharged with the help of gravity effects. After that, in the deoxygenation chamber, the impurities such as oxygen, if mixed with hydrogen, is removed by reacting the hydrogen and oxygen to make it water and obtain pure hydrogen. After that, it is again sent to coalescer for purification. After that, it is sent to the dryer before compressor. We need to dry the hydrogen in the loop. Then we'll be using a manometer for the pressure reading of our hydrogen at the output. We will be needing compressor because hydrogen has a very low density, and to increase its energy content we will have to pressurize it to a very high pressure, about 300 to about 500 bar. So we will be using compressor. After compressing the gas we will store it in the form of hydrides or in the cylinders. So after the gas storage we will be using it. We can use it in various processes, for example in fuel cells for heating purpose, hydrogen production. So the production includes three main components: the power supply component, where the direct power supply, and also the power coming from hydropower or other green energy sources such as the PV cells, and also a rectifier to convert AC into DC. Then a water purification system will contain deionizer, tank, and water pump, and our main component, the electrolyzer, to deassociate water. So this is the specifications of the system. This system is not efficient because this was only used for the study purpose about how to know which equipments work and what is the function of each equipment in the process. So the direct supply we will be getting is the 220 volt AC and a rectifier. The rectifier is used to step down the incoming AC voltage to convert it into DC. Also, the rectifier has been chosen as according to the electrolyzer size. So the rectifier output voltage is 25 VDC max. The current is 15 to 75 amps, and we will be needing a cooling system to cool our rectifier because it gets heated over time. We will be using a deionizer that will filter water at the rate of 1 liter per hour. After that, a storage tank to store our deionized water, then a water pump which flow rate would be 0.00027 meter cube per hour to feed to the electrolyzer, and then electrolyzer. The electrolyzer I had used was a PEM because of various advantages over the alkaline. Also the output was 0.06 to 0.31 Newton meter cube per hour, and the pressure was 20 bar at max at the output. So why use a PEM and not alkaline electrolyzer? As I discussed earlier, PEM has various advantages over alkaline, such as the good part load efficiencies, faster response time, and higher output pressure, but its cost is high. So looking at the overall characteristics and advantages, I selected PEM, and the deionizer was used to infiltrate all the ions and impurities from the water, and the rectifier to convert AC into DC because we cannot run our electrolyzer in the AC since there is the change in polarity resulting in the uneven deposition of ions. Now this is the hydrogen storage. As I talked earlier, after the hydrogen is obtained from the electrolyzer, we will be needing a purification system until we store the gas. So we'll be using coalescer, the deoxygenation chamber, flash arresters, coalescer, dryer, manometer, and the compressor. So I hadn't talked about the flash arrestor. The flash arrestor is a device used in the loop to forbid any backflowing of gases to prevent any accidents or fire because we cannot let the gas backflow again into the loop. This might cause fire. So flash arrestor is needed as it restricts the gas from backflowing. So these are the instruments and devices to be used for hydrogen storage. We will be using sensors to detect hydrogen gas leakage at the output terminal. Also a coalescer for partial drying of incoming hydrogen gas. A deoxygenation chamber to remove any oxygen impurities if present. And also we need a safe storage handling for hydrogen, and it needs to be impure, it needs to be very pure. Flash arresters to prevent backflow of impurities to the hydrogen stream. Use 2 in number between the coalescer and deoxidizer. Also flash arresters that can handle pressure up to 20 bar. Then we'll be using a dryer to ensure moisture-free hydrogen in the loop, a manometer to read the pressure of hydrogen gas in the loop, the flow meter to measure the flow of hydrogen in the loop. A compressor is used to compress the gas at a very high pressure up to 300 bars and also consumes 2.2 kilowatt power. A cooling system for the gas which comes out of the compressor, and also a cooling system for the compressor itself. High pressure cylinders to store the incoming gas, and the pressure regulators to regulate the optimum pressure in the loop and in the cylinder. So this is the hydrogen dispensing system. After storage, we will be dispensing the energy with the help of fuel cell to convert the hydrogen and oxygen into electricity. After we have obtained hydrogen and oxygen gas, we will use pressure regulators to regulate the pressure that is required to feed the gas to the fuel cell. And then we'll be using a humidifier. A humidifier is very much needed in the case of fuel cell because if we send dry gas to the fuel cell, the membrane lifespan is considerably decreased, so we need to moisturize our gas before sending it to fuel cell. The fuel cell was the size of 60 watt as I had considered, and the fuel cell consists of blowers and purging bulbs. The purging bulbs were used to throw out the water and other unused gas from the fuel cell, and also a blower for cooling the system and heat management system. We will also be using sensors and humidifiers inside the fuel cell. And the output of the fuel cell will be used for devices running below 60 watt on DC. So these are the instruments and devices. The pressure regulators are used according to the amount of pressure that is required to feed the gas to the fuel cells. The pressure regulators usually 0.45 to 0.55 bar for both the gases. The humidifier is used to humidify the incoming air to reduce its adverse effects on electrolytes. The electrical input is usually 212 volt for blower and purging bulb for the fuel cell of 60 watt. The load is connected for the usage of electricity. The fuel cell converts hydrogen and oxygen into electricity, and its rated power was 60 watt with 20 number of cells. The sensors were used to detect the gas leakage and the flash arresters to forbid the backgoing of gases. So this is the control system of our entire system. We'll be using a lab view because manually regulating each and every component would be very tedious and also inefficient. So a lab view is used to configure our entire system and also control it from a same place. So we'll be using a lab view system for everything like pressure regulation, voltage regulation, manometer reading for our dryer temperature, for our output pressure measurement, temperature, valve control, and fuel cell temperature control valve, etc. So LabVIEW must be used to make the system efficient and also proper functioning of the system or the process. Thank you.